And I can say that I've never done anything in combat that I consider heroic, nor do I know any fellow veteran who would claim to be a hero. We did what was expected, we did what we were trained to do, we did what the person to our left and right would do. And our heroes are our family members. Our heroes are our spouses who act as both mother and father, and our children who never know if we're coming home. And if you haven't served, you can't comprehend what it's like to look at your 8-year-old son and go, I'm going off to war, I don't know when or if I'm coming back, take care of your mother. Or to have my 5-year-old daughter tell the chairman of the Joint Chiefs as he comes back from seeing me in Afghanistan, hey, I saw your daddy, he looks tired, he's dirty, he's crumpled, he's doing a great job, I can't tell you what it is, when will he be home? And she goes, he left when I was 5, he'll be home when I'm 7. To be able to comprehend the sacrifice and the service and the humility and the privilege it is to serve. This institution currently with your history is connected to 158 gentlemen that went on to enter the military. Of that 158, 19 are Academy graduates, 7 to West Point, United States Military Academy at West Point. I could stop right there and go, and the other services claim they have academies, but I won't. 7 to the Naval Academy, 4 to the Air Force, and 1 to the Coast Guard. You know, my daddy flew P-38s in World War II in the Pacific, and when I tell that to groups, sometimes I'll get the Air Force officers, they'll start twitching, and I'll go, stop. Look at your history. It was the Army Air Corps. The Air Force didn't exist yet. And then I stopped shy of going, and it shouldn't, but no. So my message this morning to the young men in the room is life cannot be a spectator sport. Life is a team activity. If the military teaches you anything, it is to frame success as a team. That's why it's difficult for our veterans as I try to get them into reintegration into the community and the workforce. Is the employer logically asks, what are you going to do to make my company better? Military doesn't talk about what I did. It's what my unit did. It's what my team did. I've spent my entire adult life building and leading teams from a 12-man Special Operational Detachment Alpha to a multinational integrated joint combined task force with tens of thousands of people in combat. And the lessons about the human dimension of life and leadership apply in any organization. So you can't be a spectator. You can't let life pass you by, and you can't believe in good luck. Because to me, good luck is a question of preparing yourself and then having the moral courage to recognize and seize an opportunity when it exists. So life is a laboratory. You know, we used to homeschool our little girl, and she got to the point where she goes, gee, I'm getting tired of being the only kid in class. Isn't there somebody else you could ask this question to? And so now she goes to St. Rose in Murfreesboro and loves it, and the nuns love her. But life is a question of preparation. And that's what you're doing here. And hopefully everybody in the room recognizes that we're students of life. I pray I never reach the point chronologically or duty position-wise where I actually think I know something. That I don't feel that I can benefit from the privilege of learning with those that I interact with. You're never at a point where you aren't being tested, and you need to be prepared for that. The better preparation you have, the more options you have, the more opportunities you have. So continue to challenge and prepare yourself. What companies look for now out of university graduates is the ability to communicate and the ability to make a contribution to a successful team. So if you're uncomfortable looking someone in the eye and attempting to communicate, if you feel more comfortable behind the sterility of a computer screen, if you think technology helps you talk to people, I'd say you've got a loose grasp of reality. Gee, I put it on my Facebook page. Hey, I left you an email. I left a voicemail. They said your box was full or it wasn't set up yet. I tweeted it to you. You know, if you're really honest with yourself about why you use electronic means to communicate, it's because it's convenient for you. It's because I sent the email. I'm sorry you didn't read it. Hey, I told you to check my Facebook. The information's there. I left the voicemail, and now my responsibility, se fue. It's done. I don't need to worry about it. Because nobody wants to be rejected. Nobody wants to look at the body language. I mean, I'm a guy in the special ops community who studies body language. I've made life and death decisions based upon where people were, what their attire was, and what their actions were. And then ended their evil life because I didn't want to give them a greater opportunity to hurt my organization by getting closer. You need to be able to look people in the eye and talk to them, and more importantly, listen and learn from them. I get people that go, General, what do you know about leadership? You're a general. You got tens of thousands of soldiers that are just waiting on you to order them to do stuff. You don't have to lead them. You just say, do it. And for those of us in the room who have faced the horror of combat, who have literally had people die doing what we asked them to do or die alongside of us, for those of us who have lost part of our soul, taken somebody's life in defense of our nation, combat's a very easy scenario. Important things become crystal clear when people actually are living and dying alongside you. And to me, the essence of combat leadership is you can't order people to do something. They allow you the privilege to be their leader. They willingly follow you, at times to their death, not based upon your gender or your physical size or your religion, or even in the military, your rank or your duty position. They willingly give their life for you out of a sense of mutual respect and trust that you've got to earn every day. Part of the way that you earn people's trust is in your ability to communicate to them, to demonstrate to them that you care more about them than yourself, that you're willing to sacrifice, that you're a servant leader. You need to prepare yourself to do that in the world, because that's how you lead people. Eyeball to eyeball, face to face, being willing to read their rejection and their critique and their body language, and in most of my case, the disbelief. I mean, I could really be obnoxious and go, how many of you have ever talked to a 3-star before and have some of you, you know, but the few hands that would go up and then go to the rest of you, gee, it's really neat, isn't it? This is really cool. But to realize that we're all human beings trying to do the best we can. So, gentlemen, prepare yourself for opportunities that will become readily available. Learn how to communicate to people face to face. And then you need to build resiliency. Physically, emotionally, intellectually. Life is 10% of what happens to you. It's 90% of how you deal with it. How do you respond to that situation? Especially under stress. You want to talk about identifying leaders. If somebody walked through that door right now and discharged a weapon, it'd be a curious experiment to see who each of you individually would then look to. Who would you turn around in that period of stress to look to go, gee, do I grab the chair? Do I throw the chair? Do I move towards the gunshot? Do I move away from it? Do I go under the table? Who would you look to because you trust them to know what the right thing to do is during a time of stress? You're all on display. You're all leaders, whether you want to be or not, with your family, with your friends, with your children, with your contemporaries, with your superiors. Somebody is always looking. I mean, try wearing a uniform like this and not have people examine every move, every word. For those of you who didn't know me, that's probably why you came, because you hadn't heard me before. I always like it when people say, thanks for coming here. I go, wait till you listen to me. You may regret that. People only clap when I leave. It's like, thank you for being here. Don't come back anytime soon. But just imagine walking around town dressed like this and not having people critique your every move or wonder how you achieved this splendor of colors without any comprehension. Develop your resiliency. Being a leader is exhausting. My 2 years in Afghanistan, I averaged 20-hour days in combat. I had a Tandberg, a secure video teleconference machine in my bunker that was connected to the Secretary of Defense. We were 8.5 hours ahead of Washington. I'd be at my desk coming off a mission 2, 3 o'clock in the morning Afghan time, that critter would ring. I'd punch that critter up and it'd be the Secretary of Defense or security advisor, and typically they'd go, gee, General, we didn't think you'd answer. You know, half the time I want to go, well, why the hell you call me? But I knew the answer because the president or somebody had asked a question and some intelligent person had gone, well, we don't know the answer, but let's call Huber, he'll know. You know, and I know in the back of their mind, they're not telling anybody, hey, oh, by the way, do you realize it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning? They didn't care. And most of the time they were hoping I wouldn't answer, because then when they asked the question, I gave them the answer, why it was their burden to tell people what I said. It takes stamina, it takes tenacious persistence, and you physically and emotionally need to work on that now. I'll end my comments because people told me I was restricted. I get too energetic. I will tell you, I'll end with a joke. So I was having a bad day in Afghanistan. And being a devious guy, why I decided I was going to get somebody to pay me a compliment. because I was feeling that people really didn't appreciate how hard I worked. So by law, there's a restriction on the number of flag or general officers in each of the services. By law in the Army, it's 307 generals throughout the 4 ranks. So by law, more than half of those have to be 1-stars. On any given day, you got 140, 152 stars, 35, 45 3-stars, 4 to 6 4-stars. So I was going to ask Sergeant First Class Lisa Swanson how many generals were in the Army, and I was convinced that she'd be very thoughtful, and then she'd come back and go 1,200. And I'd go, aha, there's only 307 of us, we work really hard, you should appreciate us more. So I mean, this was my ploy, this was my deviousness peeking out. So I asked her, I said, Sergeant First Class Swanson, how many generals in the U.S. Army? Immediately responded, too many. And what a great answer. What a great lesson in humility. So everybody in the room that wants to be considered by others as belonging to the too many tribe, raise your hand. I mean, nobody wants to feel that others view us as being unworthy, of not having our opinion well thought out. I mean, we all recognize that we can't make all the decisions, but we want to contribute. You want to build that team and set the conditions so that everyone can make a contribution to a successful team effort. So that's always been what has motivated me, is to not have somebody go, wow, this guy's a 3-star, I could be a 5-star. They really promote people out of curiosity in the Army. You know, the only reason I'm not an admiral is the Navy has higher standards. You know, there's people out there that don't feel that you're here to serve our nations or our communities. And I never want to be considered one of those people. I appreciate your patience with me. I invite you all to come to Middle Tennessee State University to look at our Veterans and Military Family Center named after Charlie and Hazel Daniels. It's the physically largest, most comprehensive Veterans Assistance Center on an academic institution in the nation. It's the only place in the nation that's got 2 fully funded VA full-time employees in the center. One of them's a mental health counselor. And I help veterans around the world and their family members every day using the Daniels Center, because there's no requirement that you're a student at MTSU. So I'd invite you out to let me show you what we're doing for veterans in transition. I appreciate your presence and your patience with me this morning. Thank you.